Cheltenham, day 1 and 2. Cheltenham news. The handicap entries, post review, Supreme Novices Hurdle, Aqua Challenge Trophy, the Champion Hurdle, big one of the day, Fred Winter Juvenile Hurdle, an Advisory Novice Chase, annual.
Maybe Vardy's having a party. I think most of the horses have been on the WKDs by the looks of it.
Yeah, right. But 5 cherry rating.
It's 5 cherries on the first race.
It's got to be.
Ding, 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 ding.
Position. Andy Power at the last race down. Andy Power has gone but in front of the last left. Melody Light the first time. They're running up towards the finish. And he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely, Roger Lockwood. And Hoyt for Archibald. Hardy is the defensive title. But Archibald is flat out in second. Then in third. Now White Boy is beginning to come. He's drifting off the true line. He's far. And this must be home. Going to win his fourth Betfair Chase. And Cordo Star is still the king. Cordo Star wins.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tailed Off, episode number 6. This is a no-holds-barred podcast that dives headfirst into the wonderfully weird world of horse racing. For the curious newbies like me, looking to sharpen their skills, and for those that have been in the game a while, we're here to guide you through it all. Welcome, guys. Number 6, how you doing?
Oi, oi. Yeah, getting over the man flu, but apart from
Duncan's
that,
got a case of man flu.
we live to fight another day, hopefully.
You completed turf games last weekend, so that's probably why.
Yeah, that may have seen me off, but yeah, kind of getting through it, so we'll see.
Topics for today then. So we're going to do a Cheltenham Festival special. So we're going to cover day 1 and day 2 today. That's going to be the main theme of this one. We'll do a quick review of the weekend's races just gone by. Have a look at Duncan's nap, see how they got on. We've got the old news, Stuart's Enquiry, and then we'll get into Cheltenham Festival. Thanks for coughing. We'll look at the weekend races.
Sorry, I literally thought I'd muted that. Please tell me I was on mute.
And we'll look forward at the weekend races at Kempton. So let's get into it. Let's look at the P&L then, El. Trainers in Form. How's it going?
Basically the same as last week because we haven't had any selections this week. But, you know, we don't want to just throw them out there willy-nilly.
No. Yep.
You know, we studiously go through the shortlist, and if there's one to select, we'll put it up. If there's not, there's not. So
Exactly. So
we're still in profit. I basically probably just...
Let's just retire
that
now,
for the rest
shall
of
we?
time now. Finished in profit, completed life.
I'm too nervous to put one up now.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a look at the reviews then. So we had a few races that we spoke about last week. So we had Ascot, we had Haydock and Wincanton. So should we start with Ascot then, El? You had Lowry's Bar.
Ryan Reynolds Town Novices Chase.
Yeah.
How did we get on?
Well, he didn't run, so that was good.
So we didn't
Money back.
lose. We didn't lose.
So, in profit, not in negative anyway. Yeah, it was a bit of a damn squib because he pulled out quite late on the day, and then the favourite, which was the other one we kind of liked, is it Jinko Blue? I always get them two mixed up.
Yeah.
Managed to kick off Old Noodle Nico, so then the race was just gone, to be honest, and the change of man hacked around in his own time. Interestingly, in the handicap revisions on Tuesday, he got put up £2 for that, which I thought, how could you even put a horse up when, you know, he beat nothing?
Yeah.
So
Makes
it's a bit harsh, but anyway. So
All right,
I think
well, no winners, no losers then. We move on. Okay, then let's do the other one at Ascot, the Betfair Ascot Chase. How did you get on, El?
Yeah, I think we had a bit of a match between me and Duncan. Duncan did put up Pick Dory, and I kind of grimaced at the thought because I was thinking about it because he won the race last year. He loves Ascot, but it's just Paul Nicholls, and I've obviously got a bit of an issue with backing his horses at the minute. He's obviously not had the best season, hadn't won a Grade 1 since the race the year before, but he did exactly what he should have done on paper. He loves that right-handed course at Ascot. He just popped out, jumped every fence like an absolute machine, and Lompresse was already struggling. He just didn't look himself. I'm not sure what was wrong. I haven't actually read anything since to say what they thought was wrong with him. But he'd run in the Cotswold Chase not that long ago, and maybe just that took it out of him. I was really surprised they ran him. He should have probably gone straight to Cheltenham. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. So it was left with my selection, Corbett's Cross, to try and take down the Ascot specialist, and he jumped like an absolute corkscrew. He just honestly, watch it back. His legs were in just different counties. One was in Berkshire, one was in Surrey. It was just all over the shop when he was jumping his fences.
I've never heard jump like a corkscrew before, so that's good.
Honestly, some horses do it. They just some kind of go left or right, but everything else is straight. But he just was going, one was going one way, one was going the other way. And it's just almost like he's never seen a fence before. So I knew pretty early on he was going to struggle. And he did his best to close the gap, but Pick Dory was absolutely brilliant, and fair play, and well done, Butters.
Yeah,
Cheers,
well done,
mate.
Duncan. You're on the old pick.
Yeah, that was it was nice to see. I think, as El said, the writing was pretty much on the wall, and Paul was even adopting the colours of the owners. He had the old pink tie and blue shirt on, so I was like, he was really gunning for it as well. So he must have had a few bob on the line as well, no doubt.
It's another one to look at in the old parade ring. What are they wearing? The old
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Do a little fashion show for us. But yeah, I thought Pick was. They seem to really go a hell of a gallop as well. Like, you're just relentless gallop throughout the entire thing. So I mean, that is literally Pick Dory's Gold Cup, if you like. So
nice.
fair play.
And
Fair
he
play
won't be
as well.
going to Cheltenham. He goes straight to Aintree. So
he won't go to Cheltenham.
No, he's there's two things to it. That owner, who Nichols was dressed in his colours apparently in the parade ring, he loves Ascot. All of his main horses go to Ascot or maybe Kempton, but he just doesn't seem to like Cheltenham, so they tend to. He's not as fussed about it as everyone else is. But also the horse, he's never performed there, so some horses don't act there. There's no point keep sending them there. And Aintree is plenty of prize money there in a few weeks after Cheltenham. So
Always good to target your races, I guess. So fair enough. All right then, Betfair Exchange, the old Nap, Duncan. How do we get on the 4.5 Cherry Nap?
Yeah, so we were at Turf Games at the time, weren't we, Matt?
I was watching it while
We had it
obviously I was watching
on
you.
the old phone, and yeah, he did exactly what he did in the previous race we'd seen, where he's kind of hung out the back. I thought, okay, like he seemed a little bit more prominent than he was from the previous race. I thought, okay, like he's in a good spot here. They got to the home turn and he was already been bumped along, and I was a bit like, oh, here we go. Nothing's going to come of this. And then all of a sudden, he just stays on again. And again, it just felt like another classic, handbrake job from the main man himself, Harry Skelton. He wouldn't let the horse go at all, and I think Elle and I had a kind of conversation afterwards that basically just feel like he's been entered into the Coral Cup, which we'll get onto later on, and that feels like that could be the target. But I backed it each way, thank God.
Yeah, me too.
Because I got it just about 5-1. I took the each way price, so he managed to get second. But there was a bit of panic stations. I was sweating already, but I was sweating a lot more when that race came round. So yeah, it was a very, very, very suspect ride again from the main man, Harry Skelton.
So you think then he didn't go all out because he had Cheltenham in mind?
No, I don't think so. And you look at they've just done the next done the ratings. The Handicapper's had another look. So I think it's every Tuesday, and the Handicapper takes a look at the ratings of the horses that are run from the previous week. And the horse that won that, who was the favourite, went up £10 for winning the race. And Harry Skelton, finishing in second, only got £2 higher mark. So, and based on the rating that he's now at 135, he'll probably sneak in nicely to the Coral Cup off a nice low weight, which is exactly what Dan Skelton loves to do. And you wait and see. You've heard it here first.
It's criminal.
It's another layer.
He knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
We say, though, it's criminal. I was chatting to someone earlier on, I think it was yesterday or something. We say it's criminal, but the Irish have been doing it for years. Like, they've been doing it. When they come over here, they've been sneakily plotting away their handicap things. We just don't see it. And then the British handicap has gone, right, hang on a minute. There's dirty work afoot going on here. He's mugging off the Irish now, and Dan Skelton's thought, right, I'm going to try and sail on this wind as much as I can until I get caught doing it. So, fair play to him.
It's funny because you say that he obviously was easy on him, but if you watch the race, the end of the race back, he knows that the leader's basically gone, and as Duncan said, he won by so far, he got £10, which is quite a lot to go up in one go. You can see Harry panic because he thinks, if I finish too far behind this horse, I'm not going to go up at all. Obviously, I don't want to get too close to go up too much, and it's a real fine balance. And after the last, you see him get really busy once he's got past a whole host of horses. Then when he's like, okay, I reckon I'm within touching distance of getting a few pounds here, you just see him like completely stop riding, and he just eases home.
Yeah.
So
he'll chew up that hill. He will chew up that Cheltenham hill.
We'll come back to that, shall we?
Come back to the old picks later. All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to Haydock then, El.
Yeah, I said before the race in the pod last week, it was a pretty shite race on paper, and it was a shite race to watch.
WKD,
Yeah,
this is the WKD. JB Vardy's having a party. I think most of the horses have been on the WKDs by the looks of it.
Yeah, right.
I tipped up Botox Has for the kind of shorter price fancy, won the race the year before, but he just never landed a blow. And Duncan liked one of Ruth Jefferson's, sounds Russian. I like the other one. I think the only thing we learned from that race is that Ruth Jefferson couldn't trade a dog to walk, to be honest. Her dad, Malcolm Jefferson, was an absolute stalwart of the old school. He was a brilliant trainer, had some massively good horses, and he sadly died a few years ago, and she took over the licence, and honestly, it's ridiculous.
The apple couldn't have fallen further from the tree.
It's like the apple was shot out of a cannon from the tree and landed in like 4 fields across, and then that's what we're left with. And I'm just, every time I back one of her horses, I think, why,
Yeah, and never again.
Yeah, so I think we'll swiftly move on. Although I will say that the winner of that race was Skelton, funnily enough.
Oh, what a classic.
And I think the opposite of what we were saying earlier, he is actually qualified for the Pertemps, and he was on a mark of 139, which would have probably snuck him in at the bottom. But he's got him on a grade 2, and he's now gone up £10. And I don't think he's even in the stayers, so it's kind of, he's going to have to run him in the Pertemps now, I think.
But then again, it wasn't Harry on board, it was it a claimer?
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't know how to use the old handbrake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He hasn't learned the handbrake technique yet.
Sorry, he was on a claimer. What's that?
Okay, so a claimer is, if you've got like an amateur jockey, you've got an amateur jockey when they start off. I think it's the same on the flat as it is with jumps.
It's not. Yeah, to be fair, it's not amateurs. It's so amateurs.
Sorry, not amateurs, but like almost like rookies, like people that are starting off their riding careers. I think on the flat they get £10 to start with, like a £10 claims, because they're considered. Well. Is it the same on the jumps? Yeah, so they basically are considered very, like, they're brand new to the whole game, so they need a little bit of a helping hand. They get given whatever the racing weight is of the horse. So say it was, max weight of 12 stone or something like that. They would take off. They get a £10 claim at the start until I think they get to, is it 10 wins?
Yeah, and then it goes down.
So their first 10 wins, and then it comes down. So for that, so if you're running off 12 stone solid, you then put a £10 claimer on board. They take off £10 off the back of the horse, so they're running then off like 11 stone 4 or 11 stone 2, whatever it is. And then it basically works down. So after 10 wins, the jockey, their claim goes down by £3 to £7, and then after I think it's 30 odd wins, it goes from £7 to £5, and then £5 to £3, and then by the time they get to whatever I think it's 50 or something like that, maybe less, they ride out their claim. That's what they call. So they basically they have no claim. They can't take off any more weight off the horse.
It's a good way of helping young new jockeys get a chance, because some trainers were like, actually it's quite handy to have the weight off, but they're inexperienced. So I used to make the mistake years ago of thinking that was just a free £7 to have off the horse, but the jockey's inexperience when you're up against a seasoned pro
makes a big difference.
But it's on the flat, it's weird, but on the flat they're called apprentice jockeys, which kind of makes sense. That's kind of what they are. But on the jumps, for some reason, they're called conditionals. So they're conditional jockeys. But across both, you'd refer to them as claimers, because they're claiming weight off the horse each time. But anyway, move on.
Wincanton then.
This was bad race for me and Duncan, this one, I think.
Shocker.
We were both on Burdett Road for the Champion Hurdle at sneaky 33, 25 to 1. He post bets.
Feeling all proud of ourselves, weren't we, Al?
Yeah, and he was when we did the pod. I think he was like 4 to 7 for this race on Saturday, and I think Golden Ace was probably like 2 to 1, 9 to 4.
Even bigger than that, I'm thinking.
Yeah, she might have even been as big as 5 to 2. But I did say at the time, not that I'm sort of trying to after time would dig myself out of a hole, but I did say that this would suit her better, because drop in trip, sharper track, the yard had been in really bad form. They were just coming back into form. You think you could see her running better, but I still fancy Burdett Road to go and do the job. And coming round it's a big sweeping home turn at Wincanton. The start of that bend, she looked like the first one beaten in the race. So I was thinking, here we go. Burdett Road was absolutely cruising on the bridle in front. And she was under the pump, went widest of all, but she just kept plugging away. And I think the ground must have been a bit chewy at Wincanton, because usually they will hug the inside, obviously the shortest way back to home. Yeah. But right on the stand side rail, which is right on the outside, is probably the ground that's the nicest and not been used as much. So who was on? Sam, wasn't it, on Burdett Road on Saturday? So he allowed a bit of a horse width on his outside right by that rail, and she managed to pump her way through and get into that space. And I think that was a bad move from Sam, because he gave the advantage to the jockey on Golden Ace. 2 out, as he tends to, he always makes one howler. He made a bit of a howler at the jump, and he literally was on his hinds back, kind of lost all momentum, and she took the advantage, bagged the rail, and it was a bit of a fight to the finish, and fair play. She did the business. But I think Burdett Road didn't lose too much in defeat. But my worry is now that the trainer was saying after the race, where it was all about the Champion Hurdle, he's now mentioning the County Hurdle, which is a handicap at the festival, as another option. Right, so that 33 to 1 is looking less likely. But I did have a sneaky Bet each way at Golden Ace at 50-1 for the Champion Hurdle. So
Ooh, okay.
I do hope she goes there.
Needs must, yeah.
Duncan, you were on the same, weren't you? So
Yeah, an absolute slap in the face, though. We were all last week saying, yeah, we've got decent prices for the anti-post on the Champion Hurdle. Blah, 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 blah.
Rip them up.
Burdock Road goes and loses. Now 40-1 for the bloody thing. So, great. Brilliant. Shocking. Not what you need.
That's punting, baby.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the game. Right, let's get on some news then. And we do have some bad news, don't we? And I think it's important to talk about it because it is part of horse racing and it's obviously part of life. So Michael O'Sullivan unfortunately passed away last week. Oh, you had a few words to say?
Yeah, unfortunately we've lost one horse, one jockey this week. I'll talk about the jockey. Michael O'Sullivan, he was a really young, promising, up-and-coming jockey. Probably his biggest day was a couple of years ago in the Supreme Novice Hurdle, first race at the Cheltenham Festival, where he was gloriously victorious on Marine Nationale. Was a great ride that day, great celebrations, and he was riding a lot for that trainer at the time, but kind of established himself in Ireland as one of the kind of next big things, if you like. And he had his whole career, let alone his life, in front of him. And sadly, there was a real bad incident at Thurles. Must have been the day we were recording this last week, and they ended up abandoning the rest of the card, which is pretty unusual. I think there was a few horses involved, and he was airlifted to hospital from the track, but then was unfortunately put into an induced coma, and everyone was kind of praying and keeping their fingers crossed, but he never regained consciousness, and I think we got the news finally at the weekend that he didn't make it. So it's terribly sad, but that is the risk of the game. These are really brave men and women that put themselves on the back of half-ton animals running around at 40 miles an hour, jumping obstacles. The chances are at some point one of them's going to fall foul, and sadly we lost Michael. So sad news, but it is part of the game, unfortunately.
Sad news, and thoughts with his family and friends as well.
Yeah.
Duncan, we also had a horse as well.
Yeah, not to add to the tale of sadness, as it were, but Delta Work unfortunately died today. So on the 20th, came out from the yard. So Gordon Elliott, who trains the horse for Gigginstown, so Michael O'Leary. He is a 3-time winner at the Cheltenham Festival. He famously beat Tiger Roll in the cross country a few years ago, when I think Elle and I were both cherries deep on Tiger Roll. And I think he came second last year as well in the Grand National. So he was a 5-time Grade 1 winner overall. Fantastic horse, 12 years old, and he died of colic, unfortunately, which isn't a rare thing for horses to get, but it's fairly rare for them to die of colic. It can be obviously clearly very serious, but horses normally do recover from it, and unfortunately Delta Watt didn't, which is gutting, because whether or not he would have gone to the cross country again, I don't know, but he definitely would have got turned up for the Grand National and had another go at that at the Grand at the age of 12. So gutting for connections and obviously the trainer as well. Say goodbye to an unbelievable horse. He's done fantastically well and has been loved by all of us throughout this time that he's been running.
Thoughts with everyone's friends and family there. So thanks, guys. Good to talk about it. Right, let's get on to Stuart's Enquiry. So we've got one today. So Dylan Johnston.
So what happens at the photo finish?
Stuart's Enquiry.
What happened there, El?
Yeah, I put the link in there for you to put the clip up, because I think the visuals will do a better justice than me describing it.
There in his stride, say different on the run in. Wialki didn't jump it very well in second place, looks to be booked for that position, certainly not first by the look of things. So heading towards the finish, it is say different strolling home, basically now in second gear. Dylan Johnston aboard, say different, the easy winner. This horse has just laughed at the opposition, but it would just be a bit careful here. Say different has won. That was cheeky, ever so. With in second place, Wialki.
This isn't rare. This does happen from time to time, where a jockey thinks he's winning so easily, and I don't know whether it's showboating or flamboyance, but they feel that they can demonstrate how easily they're winning a race by literally just coasting home and almost easing the horse down to a complete walk, when really there's just no need to do that, in my opinion. The job is getting a horse over the line. Don't try and be flashy about it. It's like probably showboating in football, then getting megged and the team going up the other end of score or something.
It's like when you when you like go around the keeper and you're on the line of the goal line, and then you just like get down on your knees and
head it. Yeah.
Like that, yeah. Not that I've ever done that. I can imagine it.
You've never been that far up the pitch. Yeah. But he was on a favourite as well, so a lot of punters probably were on it. Say de Front. He must have been sort of 20 lengths clear after the last.
I'm watching it now, and it's a good 20
Yeah.
knee lengths.
He was coasting clear, and then one horse is flying from the back, but he had nothing to worry about. But he eased him off that much. He almost pulled the horse up, and then as the second horse is flying at his full pace, he nearly catches him on the line, and he only just literally gives him one last push and wins by half a length. And I just think if I was backing that horse, I would be screaming at the jockey, because I've seen it happen where they've lost in those scenarios where they've eased down too much and one's flew home. And I mean,
I'm looking at all the comments and it's mad.
Pelters.
Everyone's not too happy there.
I need to have a look at this. I've not seen it yet.
Oh yeah, you should.
It's crazy. And so, do you think, like, in the Racing Post or wherever it is, when they look at the form and stuff, will they be like, so for the second horse, do you think they'll be like, oh, stayed on well? I guess it did stay on well, but
yeah,
I mean, you'd have to take that review with a pinch of salt, wouldn't you, if you were looking at the form back in the race?
A lot of the times in the commentary when that happens, if the winning distance is so small as it was then, like half a length, for the commentary on the second horse, they will say closed down, heavily eased winner. So you know that he didn't really get that close.
Yeah, okay.
He was the horse basically stopped in front. So
I've just watched it. Bloody hell!
It's crazy.
Balls of steel.
Yeah.
So do you think they'll get a suspension or fine or anything like that for that?
He would have if he lost it. He would have if he lost it.
But nothing because he still won.
No, because he's done. He's won the race.
What can they do when he's won? You know, if you won, takes power.
Probably give him a warning and say, like, I'm sure. To be fair, Sam Thomas gave him an absolute pasting all over the wall and said, like, fucking make sure you don't do that again in a hurry. But yeah, I mean, what can you say? He still won the race.
I mean, yeah, put that in your tracker, that one. All right, that's Stuart's Enquiry. So let's get on to Cheltenham news. So we've got the handicap entries, and then we've got the anti-post review for days 1 and 2 of Cheltenham Festival. So let's start with the Cheltenham handicap entries, shall we?
So each week we've kind of been saying that various races have released the entries, which as what it says, you know, horses are just entered to run. It doesn't mean they're definitely running, but that's usually, it starts with the big grade ones, then the big grade 1 novices, and then some of the smaller races, and then the last in the queue of staggering out all the entries is the handicaps. But to be honest, where you're going to have your biggest wins at the festival is the handicaps.
And just as a reminder what a handicap is.
So that's we can't remember what episode it was, but we did cover the handicap system. I think it was like 2 or 3. Where basically horses
We've done so many now, I don't know, mate.
Yeah,
so big time now, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Horses get given a weight, which is allocated based on their rating. So it basically is supposed to be a fairer, more competitive race for the field. But what happened this week is we got the entries, and then what happens next week is that we get the weights, because the British handicapper will have to independently handicap all the Irish horses. So they will get a different rating in Britain to what they've got in Ireland. And that's why it's good that the entries are out. You can see who's looking at going for which race. But once the weights come out next week, that's when the real business starts of trying to plot through and find the sneaky ones.
Okay.
But yeah, there was some interesting tidbits, because they've basically introduced 3 new handicaps at the festival this year. So that was some of the bigger changes that they've introduced literally just for this year. So the cross country used to be a handicap back in the day, then they made it a level weights race. Now it's back to being a handicap. So unsurprisingly, that's attracted more horses, because we were getting Gold Cup horses running in the race, the likes of Delta Work, for example, Manila Indo, etc., which kind of made it a bit of a non-competitive race. So that's good. That's increased the entries by 10. The old National Chase / 4 miler / not quite 4 miler, as it's changed so much over recent years, is now a novices handicap over 3 mile 6. The field has almost doubled in that for entry stage, so that's good to see. And the Golden Miller, which is the old Turner's 2.5 mile grade 1, is now a handicap. So again, the fields have all increased for those races. But in doing so, there's only so many horses. It's definitely pulled horses from other races. So the Ultima used to get around 100 entries each year, only got 49 this year, and they've changed the entry conditions for novices. So novices have to have had 4 runs over fences to qualify, which means less novices are in those sorts of handicaps now. So only 49 entered this year, which is quite a small field. And the counting the Martin Piper down as well. But conversely, the Coral Cup is up at 96, so plenty of horses trying to go for that race this year.
It doesn't matter when you got the winner of the Coral Cup.
That's
from
true.
96 entries.
True. It doesn't matter how many are there.
Yeah.
So although there's so you said Martin Pike, for example, 82 entries, they all won't get a run, obviously. So what's the cutoff? Is it different for each
again,
race?
this has changed, but over hurdles, I think it's 26, could be 24.
I think it's 26.
Something like that. It used to be more. And then over fences, it's a couple less.
Yeah. Okay.
So whatever it is over, yeah.
A
So
good half.
you're talking
a good
about low
half level.
20s. Yeah, is the cut-off for the field
Yeah, okay.
sizes.
All right, Cheltenham Festival, guys. Not long to go. Countdown is on. So we've
Less than
got
3
how many
weeks.
weeks? 3 weeks?
2.5. Yeah.
2.5?
Yeah, 19 days.
Yes. Block the old diary for that as well. Yeah, looking forward to it. Let's start with day one. So day one is Tuesday, the 11th of March. That's where we'll be there. Let's start with the Supreme Novices Hurdle. Duncan, should we start with you? You need to give a cherries rating for each one of these.
Okay, a cherries rating for each one. I mean, it's
Going to run out of cherries, I
obvious.
reckon.
Yeah, I was going to say 1 to 5 cherry rating. This one will probably be. You've got to say it's hard to kind of say it, not say it, but 5 cherry rating. I think,
Yes, 5 cherries on the first race.
it's got to be.
Ding, ding, ding,
You
ding,
have
ding.
to. Had it not been for the DRF, so the Dublin Racing Festival, when Willie Mullins sent out the now favourite for this race, Kopek de Border, was just ridiculous in terms of the performance he put in that race. He absolutely hosed in. And after the race, they spoke to Willie Mullins, so the trainer for the horse, and they said he'd spoken to Paul Town and the jockey, and apparently the horse tried to run away with him 3 times. So, it was kind of off the bridle. It was just chomping at the bit, wanted to go. He did that 3 times, and Willie apparently said the horse does that once and they'll lose a race. For the horse to do it 3 times and still hose up like he did, he said it's just unbelievable. And he said he's mind blown by the performance. Couldn't believe it. I can't see. Until that had happened, I thought, okay, it's a fairly openish race, but the performance there was just unbelievable. I don't think there's anything that could stand head and shoulders near that horse.
And why is it so special when they try and pull away from you and they don't? Surely
You're using up
got the
energy.
energy to do that.
The
they'll
horse
do
is
it.
using up the energy, yeah. So the horse
Yeah.
wants to go and gallop, but obviously as a jockey, you will kind of want to keep them calm and relaxed and keep them to the tactics that you have. And of course, the more you're trying to then pull them back, it's like if someone like you on a bike, for example, like you want to go out and batter it, but someone's literally got like a rope around you and is like pulling you back. You're using up energy to try and pull away, but you can't. So they're using up copious amounts of energy trying to.
So as you say,
get
do that 3
going.
times, then yeah.
Exactly, and he's done that 3 times, not once, but 3 times throughout the course of the whole race, and he's still hosed in. So I don't see anything beating
5
that horse.
cherries straight off the bat. Day
Got to be a
one,
5 cherry job. 5 cherry job.
cherries. Could be
Yeah.
a good start or a
Cherry's
hole.
going to be all used up on day 1, first race. That'll
Could be a
it.
whole day one.
I was going to say I'll be in a hole.
El, you've got the same conclusion.
Yeah, could be another 5 cherries, I think, here, mate, for me.
10
Remember the 5 cherry train? Boop, boop.
10 cherries.
Yeah, I think I said I think it might have been last week's pod, it must have been the week before when we were reviewing his performance at the DRF. I was absolutely blown away, and I remember saying at the time, I feel like I could be having a right bet on this on the first day, which you don't want to do your cherries too early, but honestly, as Duncan said, this horse does everything wrong. He was buzzy, sweating in the paddock. He was keen to post. He was so keen during the race. He ran with the choke out and pulling Paul's arms out the whole time. And you think no horse can sustain that and win, let alone win like he did. He absolutely destroyed them. He has clearly got some engine, the likes of which we might not have seen before, certainly in recent times. He kind of reminds me of when Constitution Hill won the race a couple of years ago as a novice, and he just blew them from the start. Obviously, Constitution Hill hadn't shown that before the race. He has already shown that. I suppose a couple of concerns against it maybe is that he's already peaked for the season, because to do that again would be pretty special. The other thing is, at Cheltenham, it's often spoken about, particularly on that first day and that first race, because you're dealing with novices, i.e. inexperienced horses. The amount of people that are going to be around this horse, the buzz, the noise, even the chants, the roars, in the pre-parade ring, the parade ring, the first race, everyone wants to get and see the horses, everyone wants to get some photos and videos, and everyone's probably had a few scoops by then as well. The horses have to walk right past all the crowds to get out onto the course, and he's already kind of highly tuned and highly sprung. It is a fairly common thing that those sorts of horses can what's called boiling over and literally just
like they just get there's too much bug.
that's the only thing I would be slightly nervous about, but he kind of did a lot of that last time and still blew them apart anyway. I think at the minute he's odds on, because no bookie wants to take money on him yet until they get ready for the day itself. I can see him being at least even money on the day, and I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck their chins out and put super boost and stuff on him, because bookies will be more brave in that first race because they've got 27 races to get it back. And the amount of times where an odds-on horse anti-post lines up as big as 2-1 on the morning.
Crazy.
So I would be sitting tight now if you're looking at backing him,
Well,
and
just
wait
wait.
for the day.
Just wait on the day.
Yeah.
Almost, or
Don't back him now. 10 to
Yeah.
11, I think he's 10 to
It's a
11
silly
on.
price, isn't it?
Don't back him now.
yeah, okay.
I did have a little look for one each way because I didn't want us to just keep putting up favourites for the race. And to be honest, I don't really like Salvatore Monday. Doesn't jump well enough. Romeo Coolio, I think his form is kind of below what's needed to win this race, even though he was placed in the bumper last year. So the other one I like, Willie's got a whole load of horses in this. So many that are just like either run once or twice and not done a lot. He could have 10 runners if he wanted to. But one that's quite interesting, owned by JP McManus. Now, I've also had an anti-post bet on the New Lion for this race, even though everybody thinks he's going to go to the Turners, which is the slightly longer race on the Wednesday, first race on the Wednesday. He now owns that horse as well, so he's likely to split them up. Willie Mullins has said that this horse that I'm going to tip in a minute could go for either race. So I think between the New Lion and this horse, they'll split. If he does run here, I think Kawabunga, if that's how I pronounce it.
Cowabunga.
Yeah.
Is very interesting. His last start, he won quite comfortably, and he beat a horse called William Money, who I was looking through the form, and he actually won today in a listed hurdle,
I watched it.
quite comfortably. So
Did you see it?
I didn't watch it. I saw.
He hosed him, and
Yeah,
that's why I'm nodding at what you said, because I saw it and I thought, interesting.
Yeah, so I've just had a bet on him about an hour ago for this race. He's 20-1 if you want to go all in and and basically be brave. If you're worried that he might go for the other race, he's 12-1 non-run no bet, and I think that's
so you
still a
can
very
do
fair bet.
anti-post, no run, no bet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a great bet, to be fair.
If he runs, if he's declared to run, he will not be anything like those prices. So that's my each way sneak. But 5 cherries for the Kopeck.
5 cherries. Okay, that's 10 cherries to start with. I was also looking at pictures because I was just preparing for the pod a little bit, and the pictures of the Cheltenham Festival just looks insane. Like it looks like a 80,000 stadium.
Good luck moving around in there.
Yeah. How'd you get a
Literally
pint?
like penguins assembling when you see on the
how'd you get
nature
a Guinness?
programmes where they're waddling around like that. You can't.
We know the places to get the Guinness without the keys.
Yeah.
Maybe we should give a little tip about where to get the Guinness.
No,
I
we
don't
don't
want
want
everyone going.
Yeah, it's going to
Well,
say.
don't worry. The two viewers of this is fine. Right, let's go on to the next one then. Arkle Challenge Trophy.
I was desperate again not to sort of go through this race and each race and just look at the favourites, but I probably haven't gone since Sergino come out. I haven't probably gone through the whole field that's entered at the moment. And when I did, I thought, right, who's going to beat Madgeborough? Who's going to beat Madgeborough? And again, I just struggled. He is the percentage call. Right, he won the Triumph last year at the track. He's looked pretty good over fences, especially last time in Ireland. I would only say the downside is his jumping. He is a little bit deliberate at his fences on occasion, but he's got such an engine that he could probably get away with it. And I think as much as I would like to tip one against him, he is probably the most likely winner. I think the likes of Loda Sue, who's been mopping up kind of average races around here, and Django Bay, again, I just think the form's a little bit below the level needed to win a Grade 1 at Cheltenham. I was about to tip Gidley Park each way, but I checked up on him earlier to see what kind of the trainer might be saying about the race, just in case he wasn't going to run. And he's annoyingly had a setback. He was meant to run on Saturday as his last prep for Cheltenham. The horse had a heart issue earlier in the season. He was so good when he won at Windsor when I was there, and then sadly he's had a setback. They haven't ruled him out for Cheltenham, but you wouldn't want to be betting on him now
Not an
without knowing
anti-post.
he's going. So
Yeah.
you know,
When
I
you
think,
said you were looking at what the trainer's saying, where did you find that? Did you just find that on social media? Did you?
yeah, social media is a good place to look. Sometimes if you Google the horse and go on news and just look at the most recent.
What you want to do is go to Google and type in news.
Yeah. Just ring up the trainer, mate. Just get the number, Yellow Pages. Give him a ring. Give him a bell.
Well, because obviously you've got the Race and Post, you've got At the Races, you've got Sporting Life, you've got Racing TV, you've got all the Irish media companies. Google does a really good job of pinging that to the top of the most recent kind of news. So it will just be if the trainer's quoted something and you've missed it, it's a good way of looking for it. There will be At the Races do a Racing TV and Sporting Life do a kind of stable tour page. Which most of those should be live now. So most of the big yards will do kind of press days. Nicky Henderson's was this week, for example. Willie Mullins's was last week. Yeah. So you'll get kind of the top 20 to 30 horses, you'll get a line on each one, and it's never going to be 100% in terms of what target they're going for. But it can help if you're unsure about what they think of a horse or if it's even going to go to Cheltenham.
That's good. Nice little tip. Or just watch this pod and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Stick with
Right, let's go on to. So this is the big one, is it? The Champion Hurdle? Big one of the day?
Yeah.
Is this the main race
of
of the week? Or yes?
Each day has one main
the day. Yeah.
race, championship
This
race.
is the main one.
and the
So this is the
Champion
main
Hurdle.
one for Tuesday. El, what are you saying?
Yeah, I've noticed, Butters, that they've moved the times around this year. When I was looking at this race,
Yeah,
it used to go Supreme, Arkle, Ultima, Champion Hurdle.
Yeah.
Now it goes those 3 races, and they've stuck the Mares Hurdle in before, and the Champion Hurdle's now not till 4 o'clock.
But it's the same with like all the champion races are on at the same time, because I did exactly the same with, I think it was on the Wednesday, and I looked and I thought 3 something, and I was like, why is the main race not here? I think it was the Champion Chase, and I looked and I thought, where's this? And I saw 4 o'clock. I thought that's a bit late.
So I don't know if they're trying to mop up people sort of sneaking off work a bit earlier.
Yeah, get more beers. Yeah, get more beers.
Or get more beers in people. But yeah, the Champion Hurdle, I think there's 2 main championship races. Well, 3 main championship races at the festival. Champion Hurdle, Champion Chase and the Gold Cup. The Stairs Hurdle wouldn't really fall under that bracket, even though they tried to make it a championship race. It should be one of the highlights of the festival. In recent years, we've kind of had very short price favourites turning up and walking over the line, so it's not necessarily been the most competitive. This year has the potential to be an absolute classic, with the big 4, as I'm calling them, with the last 2 winners, State Man and Constitution Hill, and then the 2 up-and-coming mares who raced against each other. Although they haven't raced against each other, but they were both in novice races last year, kind of taking on the big boys in Brighter Days Ahead and Lossiemouth. They annoyingly have the option of the Mares Hurdle, which is the race just before the Champion Hurdle, over slightly further. And often the best mare in the country will take what's perceived the easier option to race against her own sex rather than take on the championship race. And we spoke about kind of the mares programme last week. At the moment, Lossiemouth seems to be aimed at the Champion Hurdle. Willie said that straight after her fall last time. The question mark is, so then that's 3 of the big 4. The question mark is over Bright Days Ahead, who absolutely destroyed State Man at Christmas in the kind of equivalent race they have there at Leopardstown. She does want a bit of a trip, and Michael O'Leary, the owner of Gigginstown, said, we should go for the race she's most likely to win, which obviously would be, she'd be 1 to 2 to win the mares, if not shorter on the day. So, would you take that option, or would you go for glory and potentially finish 3rd in the Champion Hurdle?
Michael wants a payday.
I know, but the comment that was in the Racing Post this week from Gordon, it really sounds like he's tempted. He's never going to have a better chance to win a Champion Hurdle. Most of the horses he gets sent are staying chasers, not speedy 2-mile hurdlers. If you'd have asked me this a few days ago, I'd have said no, she's going to go to the mares, don't even talk about it. But I'm starting to lean towards the fact she might turn up for this race, which would make it an absolute classic, because what she did at Christmas, she had her stablemate, so it was like a pacemaker, a bit like sort of cycling. He went off, gave her a mad gallop, basically sacrificed himself at the front. She could follow him in his slipstream, air off in front, and it just made it such hard work for the ones in behind, and they were legless. And then when he peeled off, she was left in front, and she could just sort of come home in her own time. If she does,
she doesn't get that low this time, surely she doesn't have. I don't think there's any.
King of Kingsfield, mate.
Is there another one into?
The same horse. Yeah. So basically,
they literally be in to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah, be a pacemaker. Wow.
Jesus.
So if he wasn't entered in the race, you'd say, well, they're not going to run it. But so they've had to pay the money to keep him in the race. So they wouldn't keep doing that if they didn't think she was going to run. Yeah. So I was kind of thinking, okay, this could be the one that beats Constitution Hill. However, what he really wants is a really strong pace to aim at, and he hasn't really had it for a long time, apart from that Supreme a few years ago where he absolutely came from the back and destroyed them. Really, her doing that with her pacemaker could absolutely set up an absolute grandstand finish for Constitution Hill. I think he absolutely has we know he has the beaten Estate Man. He beat Lossiemouth comfortably over Christmas, even though she probably had some excuses. I think if the 4 turn up, it will be a great race. I would really respect Bright Days Ahead, because she'll be doing something a bit different and putting him under a lot of pressure. And we don't really know whether he's still got the same ability that he did have, because he's had not the hardest races this season. The good thing is we've seen him twice, where if he'd gone from Christmas to Cheltenham, I'd be saying don't go near him, because he's going to be too short, and he's still going to have all this on sort of...
Sorry, don't go near...
Constitution Hill.
Okay.
Because there's too much uncertainty. I know he had a lap of honour last time at Cheltenham, but that proved to me that apart from absolutely flinging the last and nearly falling over, he still got all the enthusiasm in the world. And it showed to me that he didn't just reappear, win, and then he's going to go back into himself. He came back up pretty soon after and won nicely. So on balance, I would stick with the fact Constitution Hill. But if Brighter Days Ahead turns up, it's going to be a hell of a race.
Okay, good assessment. So Constitution Hill, how many cherries?
Well, we didn't do Madgeborough. I would say 4 cherries for Madgeborough, and I would say depends who turns up. If Brighter Days Ahead doesn't turn up, I would say 5 cherries. If she does, I would say 4 cherries.
And then Bright Days Ahead.
Oh, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stick to the British.
So you're sticking to the Constitution Hill.
Yeah.
Okay. But it'd just be a good race, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think you'd still do it. Yeah. Duncan, you tend to agree?
Yeah, I think our call shout, I agree. Marshborough, like, if you'd had Segino in there, I think Segino would have been the clear and obvious one to pick. But now that there's not much left in there, Marshborough, I'd say 4. I'd say the jumping may be the only thing that would stop him from winning. And then, again, for the champion hurdle, I'm not as sceptical, maybe, about Constitution Hill's chances. I'd go 5 cherries on Constitution Hill, regardless of
cherries.
Bright Days Ahead.
A lot of cherries hanging about.
I just think the horse is insane. Like, it's so good, and I just don't think anything could live up to the Constitution Hill. You know, Bright Days Ahead. I mean, granted, yes.
When was the last time we saw that, though? When was the last time we actually saw that?
Yeah, I agree. But he can only beat what's in front of you, right? He beat Lossiemouth on his return from X amount of time off the track. Apparently, Willie said that Lossie wasn't there clearly when they dropped the hammer. Fine, okay, but there's only so much he can do. And then again, obviously, apart from battering the last hurdle at the end, he could have gone and done another circuit. Hendo said afterwards, I've got to work him again tomorrow because he's done so little out there. So he can only beat what's in front of him. And I just think that Brighter Days Ahead was all it was the second coming last year when they went to the champion bumper and then got beaten?
Mayor's Novice.
And got beaten in that. Is she going to enjoy the hill against Constitution Hill, who we know eats the hill for breakfast?
By nature.
I just don't think anything will beat Constitution. If, however, though, I would say if they do decide, and Michael O'Leary does decide to send Bright Days Ahead to the champion hurdle, it would be worth backing Jade de Grugy, potentially, if you like that, for the mares, and won pretty easily.
I meant to back her before the race.
Yeah, so she won today. So for the mares hurdle, which is the race that Brighter Days Ahead is odds-on favourite for, if they then take her out of that and put her into the champion hurdle, what will be the new field. So at the moment, it's Brighter Days Ahead is odds-on. Then you've got Lossiemouth at 5-4. Then Jade de Grugy at best price 3-1. Now, you take those first two out, because Lossiemouth's not going to go, apparently. And if Brighter Days Ahead goes, that market completely flattens. And you're going to get...
non-run, no bet, or is that all-in price?
I don't know. I'd have to check. I would definitely... I mean, Ladbrokes are saying 3-1, and I know Ladbrokes are non-runner, no bet, so I'm going to put it out there and probably say yes, 3-1, non-runner, no bet.
Okay, good.
So I would say that could be a shout, and then if Brighter Days Ahead stays in, cash out, because Brighter Days Ahead will just win at the mares.
Cash out.
So you can cover your bases.
All right, I'm excited for that one. Can't wait. So last one then we've got on our list for Tuesday is Fred Winter Juvenile Hurdle. You've got a sneaky one. Sneaky ones are always the ones that come in, and it's just like annoying.
Well, I sent it around to a few people a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, well, seeing as we're doing this, I'd better put it up in front.
Outside the pod, you sent it round.
I tell you what, send me all your numbers. I'll set up a WhatsApp group.
Watch the bloody podcast.
Exactly. But so I was saving it for this. It's still a decent price, so I won't worry about that. But yeah, this is a bit of a putting your chin out, because this race is, who's even going to turn up for this race, let alone who's going to win it. But I have a sneaky feeling this one is being laid out for the race. So the trainer is Joseph O'Brien, son of the great Aidan O'Brien, the flat trainer. He doesn't have as many jumpers as he used to, but he's been flying this season over jumps, with obviously Banbridge and Solness. And he's won this race at least twice in recent seasons, so clearly knows what it takes. He runs a lot of horses over flat and jumps. We spoke about that last week. He kind of dual purpose. And this is a bit of a mad, frantic race to go a crazy gallop. So his horses that are often from the flat have had a lot of experience. So I think that's why he tends to do quite well in this. And he's got a horse of a similar profile. It's owned by Mr. JP McManus, who obviously loves a little sneaky target for the festival. He won it. He won it last year? Was it the year before with Brazil? Something like that.
A couple of years ago, I think it was 23.
Yeah. And he owns this one. So Beyond Your Dreams is the name of the horse. He's had, as I say, quite a few runs on the flat, and his first couple of runs over hurdles looked like the classic, I don't want to win too early on in my career and get too high in the handicap. I'll just sort of come from the back. But then you get to the point where, okay, we need to do something to get even into the race. So then it did duly win its last start over hurdles around Christmas time, and the horse it beat went and won next time out. It is a bit of a flyer. He's 20s all in. anti-post, or 16s non-run no bet. So the safest option is probably to take the 16s, just in case they decide to wait for another race. But I can see if this horse runs, I can see an absolute mad gamble on it. So probably worth getting on that.
Okay, so that's day 1, Tuesday. Let's get on to day 2, Wednesday, 12th of March. Duncan, should we start with the Brown Advisory Novice Chase? What are you saying?
Yeah, it's going to be another boring one for me because it's going to be the favourite, Ballyburn. Again, looking at what's going there, I mean, to be fair, it is a fairly competitive race, but Ballyburn for me is kind of the only real kind of exertion he's had was against Sagino at Kempton, and that was over 2 miles, which is just too short for him. This horse wants a distance, as he proved from running in the Turners last year, which is 2.5 miles, and he romped home in that, and we were both on board at even money, which was unbelievable. I just think that the bigger the distance this horse has, the better the horse will get. So he recently ran, I think, in a Grade 1 over in the DRF and promptly hosed up in that, and he just got better as the further they went, and he's stepping up in trip again to 3 miles in this. I don't see anything is going to live with him when it comes to the end coming up the hill at 3 miles. I just think he'll, again, another horse that will just lap it up, eat the ground, and see you later on.
So that hill is super important.
I think 2-1 is actually quite a decent price. I think you can still potentially get 2-1, 7-4.
I couldn't see any 2-1.
Is it 2-1?
I couldn't see any.
So I would say that is still a decent bet. There's still other good horses around it, but I don't see anything living with Ballyburn when it comes to that home turn and coming up the hill.
Yeah, you agree with that?
What's the cherries?
Can't open with 2-5 cherry jobs on 2 days in a row.
Hey, it's a free country.
To be fair, out of the races that we're looking at so far, like for that day, I think that would be a 5 cherry job.
Cherry machine, this guy.
Yeah,
Left, right, centre. Right.
yeah.
I would also echo Duncan's comments. I'm a big fan of Ballyburn, so I would probably not go 5. I might go 4.5 cherries. Well, sort of stupidly, I saw a horse that is running in this race run today called High Class Hero, also trained by Willie Mullins, and it was like 1-2 to win. And I always do this thing where I'm like, well, if it wins well, it'll be half the price for the race at Cheltenham. So we got on at 20s. So some bookies are a bit clever to this now. So Bet365 suspended betting on that horse for the Cheltenham race. But because it's running, you don't know what's going to happen. That's what they should do. But William Hill hadn't, so I thought I'm going to punish them and got on at 20s. But then he won, but he didn't win like massively well. So then 365 went out to 33s, and I got on at 20s.
Murder.
That is punting, baby. So, yeah, I'd
So
love it if High Class Hero wins.
Yeah, exactly.
I would not.
But yeah, anyway, moving on to the Cheltenham Chase. So this is the feature race of Wednesday. It was looking like a bit of a good race a few weeks ago, but after the DRF where Al Fabiolo tipped up at like the second fence, Gaelic Warrior, who just doesn't seem to like Leopardstown, crawled home and just didn't look himself at all. We had the likes of Banbridge in here, who's now seemingly going to the Gold Cup, and Ile Francais could still go here, but there's a lot of talk about him going to the Ryanair. You suddenly look through this race and you think, what's gonna challenge John Bon?
Yeah.
I didn't want to tip another favourite, and I just have this sneaky feeling about John Bon not winning the Cheltenham Chase. That is just pure feel, and that race has been a graveyard for favourites. The likes of Defi de Soy, obviously Al Fab didn't win it last year, Duvan was beaten in it, Shishkin stopped at the start, didn't complete in it. So for whatever reason, it just has a bit of a graveyard kind of feel about it, and I feel like it's set up for another one of them. Trying to find what that kind of shock is, I'm not so sure. I was watching a video, as you were saying, the stable tours from Willie's last week. He was asked about Gaelic Warrior. He didn't really say a lot other than he could go for either race. I feel like he will go here because he'll probably send Al Fabiolo out to the Ryanair. If he lines up on the day and is not a silly price, I would back him because of what he did in the Arkle last year when he was so crap at Leopardstown and he looked like a machine at Cheltenham, and you just sort of trust Willie. I wouldn't back him now because, one, I don't know if he's even going, and I wouldn't take the price he is. So one I thought that was an absolute solid...
Sorry, just to recap, so that's Gaelic Warrior, yeah?
Yeah, if he runs, but I don't even know if he's going to run. So
okay.
I would sort of be a...
Cherries on that, if he runs?
3.
Oh, okay.
That's generous.
2.5 to 3.
Oh, really into that,
Yeah.
you will. Okay.
But I think this next one is an actual serious, like, good punting bet, because it could be quite a small field by the time we get to the day. and we spoke about Solness a couple of times on the podcast already, where he's kind of shocked everyone winning 2 Grade 1s. I don't see him going and winning this and being as good at Cheltenham, and everybody knows what he does now. He just bombs out in front. But he's still 10 to 1 to win this race when, you look at Gaelic Warriors might not run, Albert Fabiolo's not going to run, Ile Francais might not run, Bambridge isn't going to run, and you suddenly think, well, he is definitely going to run, so he's not going to be 10 to 1 on the day. So it's called a bit of each way thievery, where you just know a horse is going to go somewhere. You think it's almost certainly going to finish in the top 3. You're basically backing 2 to 1 a place. I think Solness is a cracking each way bet, and he's not without a chance of winning, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
And then I was trying to look for another sneaky one, and a horse I know Ruby's tipped up for the race a while ago. Didn't quite get the job done in the Game Spirit Chase at Newbury recently, but Liberty Hunter is currently 33 to 1, non-run no bet 40 to 1, all in. He is also entered in the Grand Annual though. He has won at Cheltenham before, so he does like the course. So if you liked him each way, I'd take the 33s non-run no bet in case he runs in the other race. But again, he wouldn't be as big a price as that on the day if he does run.
Okay. You agree, Duncan?
Yeah, I'm literally just having a look at Solness now. It's 11 to 1 for non-runner no bet, but I don't think he's entered anywhere else anyway. So I think
take the 11s.
I think that's a great bet. 11 to 1. So I'm literally pressing pay on that one. So I've just taken 11 to 1 about
live on the pod.
Live bet.
Yeah, because exactly what Elle said. Like,
gamble responsibly.
John Bond, technically, like looking at it, should win, but he's been there a couple of times and flopped a couple of times. But then you're like, what is going to beat him? Like I said, Gaelic's not going. I don't think Gaelic goes personally, based on what Willie said after the last race when he said he hit a major.
He likes the runner in this, so that's the only thing apart from a Nergamine, who's absolutely like.
Yeah. There's nothing else that I really, apart from Solness, which obviously we've seen and just seems to just kind of run away with races, whether or not that's just. But John Bond will probably like that as a tactic, like let someone bowl out in front and then he can just follow in behind. But I don't think there's anything else in there. Gaelic for me shouldn't go. I think he needs further because Willie was saying at the race at the Dublin Racing Festival he hit a major flat spot and Paul nearly pulled him up, and then apparently the horse got going again. So I'm just thinking it's 2.5 miles a better distance for him where he can kind of get a bit of a breather into him and then go again. I just think the 2 miles maybe just too sharp for him. Ile Francais again won't go here. I don't think. I think he'll go Ryanair or Gold Cup. Marine Nationale. I mean, to be fair, I would not. I think that would be quite a hell of a story because Marine Nationale is obviously Michael O'Sullivan, who we talked about earlier on, the jockey that sadly passed away last week, rode Marine Nationale to the Supreme Novice Hurdle win a couple of years ago. And what a touch of class that would be if that horse comes in and wins the Champion Chase at Cheltenham. The stories and the film kind of setting, that would be quite a magical thing.
Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. Like it would be a proper Hollywood story. But I think for me, Solness is a decent bet at 11s, as we just said. So, but it's John Bonds to lose, basically, in my opinion.
John Bonds to lose, but Solus are good each way. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Right, Coral Cup. I'm interested in this one. The old Joya machine.
Comes back to the old nap of last week.
The old nap of last week, which is now carried over to the nap of this week for Cheltenham.
Yeah.
So, Duncan, you're still on that?
I don't know about a nap, but it's definitely, like, I think, as we kind of
Plot
mentioned
job.
earlier on. Yeah. It just feels like, again, the handbrake was on. It's Cheltenham, baby. And Dan Skelton has had a horse the last 2 years called Langer Dan, which he has sent to this race after having been crap all through the winter and has kind of said, this horse doesn't run well in the winter. When it hits the spring, summertime, this is when this horse really shows what he can do. And then sure enough, gets to Cheltenham and the horse fucking bolts up in the Coral Cup every time because he has run in about 3 or 4 races leading up to it, run shit, got a reduced mark, and then has run off. He's got into the Coral Cup to be able to run in it and then has duly won.
I like it. I'm warming to that.
I mean, it's brilliant, and people are slating him like mad. But if you can do it and get away with it, fair enough.
It's all right if you're on it.
Yeah, exactly. Which we've luckily been, so it's been great. But yeah, I think Joy Machan again is in this race off 135, so he should sneak in at a very, very low weight. They do have Langer Dan still entered in this race, although I thought, from what I'd heard, he was supposed to be going for the stayers instead. But the fact he's entered still in this off a mark of 158, whether or not they keep him in, but if who knows? But I just think Joy Machan will love the trip, will love the hill, and hopefully the Skeltons let the handbrake off this time, and we can all enjoy a 16 to 1. I've taken both 16s and 20s. So 20 to 1 anti-post. So if he doesn't run for whatever reason, I don't get my money back. But I also took 16 to 1 non-runner no bet. So I will get my money back if he doesn't run there. So
Look forward to watching it hose up the hill.
Hose up the hill.
Hose up the hill.
Hashtag hose up the hill.
Hashtag hose up the hill. 5 cherries. 5 cherries? Has to
No,
be.
I don't think you can do a coral cup with 5 cherries on it.
He's backtracking.
I'd say 4 cherries. I think four cherries at 2016 is a pretty decent one.
That's true. That's true.
You know, there's always going to be, but again, I think nearer the time, it would be good to kind of get a bigger, kind of a good view of when the weights are out. You can kind of see where they sit in there. But yeah, at the moment, Joy Masham will be the one.
All right, last one then. Grand Annual. Elliot?
Yeah, this is the Handicap Chase over 2 miles. The reason why I put this up is I was looking at the Arkle for a sneaky one each way, and this is a horse I quite like. He's been running in the main sort of graded races for novices, but he's ended up having 4 runs, so quite experienced for a novice going into Cheltenham. And you now need 4 runs over fences before you're allowed to run in the handicaps at Cheltenham, which he has now done. So actually, I don't think he'll run in the Arkle. I think Gordon Elliott's Touch Me Not will run in the Grand Annual instead. And the handicap weights come out next week, as I said earlier, so probably need to wait to see what mark he's given for it, because I think if the handicapper goes mad, Gordon Elliott might not run for that. He might go for the Arkle, but he's currently 12 to 1 anti-post, so that's an each way bet. But if you're worried that he might not run, he is 8 to 1 non-run no bet. But that is again another horse I can see being sort of 7 to 2, 4 to 1 favourite on the day. So, Touch Me Not for the Grand Annual.
Tell you what, anti-post betting sort of makes sense at Cheltenham, doesn't it?
If
Takes all the fun out of it on the
day. You
day.
can't get them all right, but
yeah,
there's sometimes where you can be sitting on decent money.
Yeah. Well, you're leaving a lot on the table, really. If you've done your research and you're really behind a horse, then why wouldn't you go for it now?
Well, classic example of this, very quickly, is that a champion hurdle a few years ago, I can't remember what year it was, maybe 2019 or 2020, a horse called Espoir d'Allen for JP McManus. I know, yeah, what a touch. We went through, I think between us, we went through the champion hurdle and we were like, because this is where it works in your favour, is if you're pretty confident based on all you've read and heard that X horse isn't going to run in the race, but they still have to have a price just in case they do because it's still entered, then that means that the horses further down that you definitely know are going to run are bigger prices as a result. So if you've got a horse that you know is definitely running because the trainer said that's the only target, we're definitely going for that, then that's where you can make a bit of an edge. So we had this horse at 25 to 1, Espoir d'Allen, who was definitely going for the champion hurdle, and there was 4 or 5 horses ahead of him in the market that you just knew were going to go for other races or not go to Cheltenham at all. And sure enough, it was a small field on the day, and I don't know what price he went off, maybe 10, 12 to 1, so at least half the price of what he was anti-post, and he only went and won by half the bloody track as well. So I think there was me, Dad, Duncan and one other guy in the whole stand at Cheltenham going absolutely berserk as he romped up the hill. But I only had that bet to nick a bit of each way money. And it just shows that it's a good little system to get ahead.
I like the system. Right, cheers, guys. So that's day 1, day 2. We'll do one more week, which is day 3 and 4. Cool. Sounds good.
We'll do a special nearer the time as well.
And then we'll do one on the day, won't we? Because we'll be there. So
right.
We apologise in advance for
podcast live.
The exclusives. Right, let's do a very quick fire preview for this weekend. So let's start with Saturday, Kempton, 2:25. So, Elliot, what are you saying at Kempton then?
Yeah, I'll keep this brief. Adonis Hurdle is for juveniles, so for 4-year-olds, and is the last, we said last week, kind of this is really the last weekend the horses can run from here to Cheltenham.
I think we said that for the last 3 weeks.
I know, but
Is that last week?
Really should be it now. So this is a little trial for the Triumph. Mondo Man we spoke about before because he ran against Ulamba, and I know Duncan will touch on the Hendo horses not running in a moment, but he was in receipt of £10 that day at Ascot and pulled like an absolute train and didn't really behave himself, and I think he's a really short price for this race, so I was looking for one against it, and I quite like the filly OPEC for James Owen and the Gredleys, available at 9 to 2. She was very progressive as a flat horse and then over hurdles, but raced quite a lot throughout last season, and then the finale juvenile hurdle at Chepstow over Christmas probably was 1-2 race too many in a sequence of a busy period. She's had a nice little break since then. The good ground and the flatter track will probably play more to her strengths, so I will chance OPEC at 9.
Okay. And Duncan?
Mondo Man, I've been on already.
That's been after day 1 at Cheltenham. I've got nothing left.
I've got nothing left. Yeah, this is what I'll be like literally last day, dragging myself through the mud.
That first race where you put 5 cherries straight out the bag.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's all downhill from there as well, my friend. Welcome to the winner's circle. Yeah, I've gone for Mondo, man. I probably won't back him on the day at Kempton just because I've already got him anti-post for the JCB Triumph. I just thought, he looked good then. Pulled like an absolute train, as El said, when Lulamba kind of cosily won there. But Lulamba and the other Nicky Henderson horse, Palladium, who was the most expensive horse we mentioned, I think, on the opening podcast, is the most expensive jumps horse in trainings, bought for 1.3 million euros. Both of them were in the mix to be running in this, and Henderson has pulled both of them out. So very interesting to understand. I get why Lulamba wouldn't run, because obviously you just want to protect your best horse. When you've got a favourite for the Triumph for race at Cheltenham, you probably do want to protect him. If there's no point in running them, then don't bother. But Palladium, I think, would probably do well for having a run and having a bit more schooling, but for whatever reason they've decided not to run. So yeah, I think Mondo Man hopefully will do the biz, but cool. I wouldn't be backing.
All right, Kempton 3 p.m. then. So you're both on the same here, Duncan. I'll start with you.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at it and I thought it was very much an obvious one of Miami Magic. But actually, when you look at it as well, the Tripoli Flyer, so the one for Fergal O'Brien, ran in the Scottish Champion Hurdle Handicap a couple of weeks ago and actually hosed in. Was it Scottish Supreme Novice? Sorry, Scottish Supreme Novice, not Champion Hurdle. Sorry. Thank you for doing that. Hosed in comfortably by 11 lengths. So I think it's not without a chance, but based on what Miami Magic has done, came second to a very, very well-respected horse, Aintree, on Boxing Day. Cannot remember for the life of me the name of it.
Potter's Charm.
That's the one, Potter's Charm. And then one that I mentioned, actually.
Who was in third, Duncan?
Say again?
Who was in third that day?
Yeah, found it off.
But the other horse he couldn't remember the name of.
Is that the one that he's still trying to get back to us on?
We'll get back to you on that.
Good and clever.
Give him a break.
Sorry.
Yeah, good and clever, which is the one that I mentioned and could not remember the name of, to back at the Dublin Racing Festival, ran against the favourite for the Supreme, Willie's horse, and came third in that. So I think that the form in general for that is pretty good. So yeah, I would say Miami Magic potentially on better ground as well. I think he's had a couple of wins on good ground as well. So if the ground is supposed to be good at Kempton, I think that can only play to his strengths. So I think Miami Magic's a decent shout. I think 7-4, 15-8 maybe. So I'd be backing Miami Magic of the two.
Good. All right. Last but not least, Kempton 3:35.
Nope. So we've got to give your one.
You want me to start?
We're not, because we don't know what you've picked here.
Oh, I put it on the next page. But all right. So the newbie nap, which probably won't be a nap, but is, and I'm going to give this a 3 cherries because it did take me long enough to really
shit house.
But if it comes in, you'll be laughing. So I'm going for Beachcomber.
Okay, John Jones.
Interesting reactions. I'm just looking at your faces. Okay, so not.
We'll have a look.
Not like last time where you both put a bet on after I say it.
Yeah.
So I'm going for Beachcomber. The reason is because John Joe is the trainer in form. So tick 1.
Okay.
2, 1 at the course and the distance before. Likes the conditions, so it's going to be good, maybe good to soft. And then 1 at the same class race. Got blinkers on, which I just like blinkers. But then if you look at the notes on the race, so the last race he won.
I'm going to it now for you.
The only issue was that it did ease up in the last 100 yards or so, but I don't know if that's because it was... it was clear out. It said it went clear 3 out, so it's probably well up there. So it's obviously finished with quite a distance. I think the weight's the same. No, it's come down actually. So it's 11 stone 2.
Yeah.
Go and watch one of our previous podcasts.
Yeah.
What did we say about that?
It was 11 stone 6. Now it's 11 stone 2.
Look at his rating.
I've got the podcast for you.
The rating.
There he is.
What was his rating last time out when he
So
won?
his rating last time was...
So that's the OR you're looking for.
I feel like I'm at bloody school. OR was 136.
No, that's his current rating. So his rating on the day when he won on
No,
27.
it was 136.
No, it's 127.
Oh, 127, okay.
So he's gone up £9 for that. So he's carrying £9 more than he technically did. But he's up in class.
Anyway, that's the newbie's nap, guys. Each way.
Nothing wrong with it. I'd say it's good to do this because then you learn.
Okay, fine. Yeah, it's hard. It's bloody hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a prime example. That's why we said it in the handicap special, because that's
go and watch it, and I will watch it again.
Just need to remember which one.
Episode 1 to 5. I don't know which one. So yes, I'm going to go for Beachcomber each way. Just got a good feeling about it.
Fair.
Good. I can't fault most of the logic there.
Well, you pissed on my fire when you just. But anyway, so what have you guys gone for then? Elle, let's start with you.
Yeah, I've tried to give you a couple, so short one and a couple each way. I think
Give you a couple in case you don't want to listen to mine. Good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Spread the field. One angle I do like in betting is novices in handicap chases, because I think a lot of the good ones, the handicapper hasn't caught up with their ability yet. Because they tend to race against other novices, and he doesn't want to go overboard. One that I was kind of thinking for the Grand National, to be honest, is a potentially sneaky one. And certainly I was looking at Cheltenham, but the fact he's come here is quite a valuable race. I think Nicky's trying to get as much prize money as possible. Is Highland. He's a very progressive chaser, likes good ground, fine at the trip. He ran a belter in the Grade 1 quarto start at Christmas against the Jukebox Man, who we were all very excited about for Cheltenham, who sadly is injured. A mark of 147 I think is lenient, and I would fancy him to go very close at around 7-2. And if you want a couple against that, you don't want to go on a short price one, the horse that won the race last year off a £3 higher mark was Our Power, and our good old friend Dylan Johnson, hopefully if he's in front he doesn't pull up before the line. He's taken off £3 because he's a £3 claimer, so that means he's basically running off the same mark as he won the race last year. So he would be one I could see definitely getting in the frame, but he is a 10-year-old, so maybe a younger horse would potentially be more likely a winner. Such as
Beachcomber, who's only 7.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Got fresh legs. And because we like to give Skeltons a good mention on this podcast, the sneaky one is Cheltenham. That's not Cheltenham, that's Cheltenham with a H. I don't know why it's called that. Stupid name. Yeah. He has been dropped £6, which I think is very generous, in 2 runs. So he's now back on his last winning mark. It's like Skelton has got dirt on that.
He's got serious dirt on this guy, like naked photos of him or something like that.
Because he's run him twice. He's like, oh, you can have £6 there. Yeah. Other trainers must be going mad. Already he's back on his last winning mark, which would usually take quite a few runs to get back to that sort of level. And he's never run him over this far, and I'm just thinking, this could be one that he's absolutely laid out for this. Yeah. And I did take the 14s, and that's already gone. So maybe you lads should maybe get on now before it disappears. But I looked at them going each way.
I'm on Beachcomber.
I looked at it the other way, weirdly, Al, but I was all with you when it was the step up, because he'd been running over 2.5 miles constantly, and I thought, oh, okay, first time over. It's like, but I looked at the pedigree of the horse.
Well, he's by Mass Marble, isn't he?
Yeah,
I think was a Ledger horse, but
so,
yeah. My last comment was trip ? So
that's exactly the thing that I think it's worth a go. But the trip is the question mark. I think. But I absolutely agree with what you were saying about Highland in terms of form. Great form. Came second to Jukebox Man, who won at Kempton before. Unfortunately, he was ruled out for the season. He was I think he was a favourite for a race at Cheltenham as well. So that's good form. And then he also beat Springwell Bay at Cheltenham in November. And Springwell Bay then went out in January at Cheltenham and won a Grade 3. So it looks good form, I think, for Highland there. And then the other one I liked, which is the other Sam Thomas horse, so not Our Power, was the other one, Could Take Dory.
I thought you were going to forget the name then.
Yeah, no, I was literally, where is it? I've literally got it on my phone written down here. Could Take Dory, and it's got Charlie Deutsch on. So Charlie Deutsch would have his pick of which horse he'd have, whether or not the weight or something on Our Power maybe a thing, I don't know. But the fact that of the two, and the owners of both of the Sam Thomas runners, they own one outright and they co-own the other one. And I'm just wondering, it's sort of running off an unbelievably low weight, 10 stone 5 for mark of 125. The trip will be absolutely fine. It may even want further, so whether or not it may be too short a trip for him. I just think that could be, a nice little one at 10s. So I took 10 to 1. I think it's already into 9s. So a potential option there.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Good. So we got Cheltenham, we've done. Day 1 and 2 we've done this weekend. So that's a wrap. Thanks for watching another episode of Tailed Off, or listening, depending on the platform that you use. Let us know what you're enjoying, what you want to hear more about. If you like it, then share with your friends, share with your family, and message us on tailedoffpod@gmail.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tailed Off, or go to Instagram. And we're back on X, which is good. We're back on X. So thanks, guys, for listening. Until next time, have fun, be smart, race hard, and try not to be tailed off. Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Cheers.
Position. Any power at the last flies down. Any power has gone, but in front of the last lens. Melody Light the first time. time. They're running up towards the finish, and he's mistaken the winning post. He's mistaken the winning post completely, Roger Loughlin, and Hoyt Noy. From Archibald.